Can we, well, since we've got some folks in here, can we do a chat test?
That'd be awesome.
So if you're watching this webcam, can you put in the chat what kind of business you have? We'll probably do this again, but right now we just want to do like a check so we can see if everybody can see the chat. I don't see any like messages popping up here. So like if you're an attendee and you can hear the sound of my voice, please just type in the chat, hey, I hear you, or my business, I run a plumbing company, or something. So just so we can make sure that everybody can see the chat back and forth.
Looks like it's a good thing we're testing it, Duncan. We got to get the messages flowing here. We could use the questions as well too. We should see if that's working. People are welcome to put things in at any time.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. So if you click 2, like right below the chat, y'all, it says 2 and it should say entire audience, all entire audience. If you have a name there or a presenter only, it won't go to everyone. So for this moment, we're looking for people to put something in the chat to the entire audience. Don't be shy. You might put something in there and get some business right now. Matter of fact, I'm looking for a videographer. So somebody, if that's you, that you can get some business right now. So I'm not seeing any responses. Are people allowed to chat? Like, is that feature available?
They should be able to. All right, okay.
All right, let me help y'all out. I got $5 to the first person that put his comment in the chat. Cash App right now. $5 to the first person who comments. I'm pulling up my Cash App right now.
Duncan, I'm seeing a message from one of my colleagues who's on. She says that they can only send their responses as questions. So it looks like we might have to do something on our end to open that up. It says she tried to type something and didn't show up. So let's see if we can set that setting. I'm so glad you tested this, Duncan, because we want the chat to be working.
Right.
Check the
after 20 minutes of no chat, I'm gonna be like, are we talking to anybody? Can they hear us? Like,
I see things in the questions. So
you do?
Yeah, people are sending us stuff. Let's see if we can turn the chat on. That would be great.
Oh, I see a bunch of questions. Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's how it's meant to work, is to send us through that. Maybe the chat is for us to send things out, but checking.
But is there a way we can get so they can see each other's questions and stuff too? James Baptiste, you're the first comment in the section, so send a question with your Cash App so I can send you this $5, James.
Hey, Sherry, is Brianne still on the line?
She said the chat feature is on, so I'm not sure if the question is like the default or if people have to select chat.
Yeah, I think I'm looking it up, and it seems to say that it's not possible for attendees to exchange chat messages with the other attendees. They can just send questions to us.
Okay.
So I think they can see our messages there.
Okay, so we're gonna have to do it using the questions, it looks like.
James, your Cash App isn't coming up here. I see you got Venmo. I don't have Venmo. You got a conundrum here, James.
It says here that in order to speak to the entire audience, you have to click Start Broadcast.
That's for the presenters, right?
Attendees still on hold, it says. Yours probably says the same thing, but mine seems to be flashing at me.
All right, we'll get it figured out. So they may just have to send a bunch of questions in the questions, y'all.
That will work.
Shayla Radford. Yes, we are the panel. Hello, Carol. Ebony Huff has an online custom apparel store. All right. Let's see. Who else we got? Shaquan Rose, keeping clean, cleaning business. Do y'all do house cleaning? Y'all do like the full, like inside and outside? Because I need like the outside clean, like pressure washed and stuff. Candle business. Okay, Mother's Day is coming. Better put some products in here. Let us
Great
know.
way to network.
Jacqueline broke it down for us. We can only send us questions. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Can they see us, Duncan? Can we ask? Can you guys see us right now, or are you guys seeing the screen?
Can you all see us or the screen or both? Can somebody comment? Question.
Looks
I'm
like
seeing
both.
yes, both. I see people saying both. Okay. Somebody said screen only. Somebody said both. Some both. Okay, we're gonna make the questions work. I appreciate that. We'll just roll with the questions as the chat. We make it work. So you gotta be resilient.
Definitely.
All right. Anara Architecture, send me a text. I put my cell phone in the chat. Send me a text with your info, James. Okay, just got your text. Thank you. Okay, it's 4:01. Sherry, you want to go ahead and get started? Should we go ahead and get started, or you want to wait a couple minutes?
I think we're ready, Jonathan.
Yeah, I think
Everybody,
we're ready.
what do you think?
Sure.
All right. Well, here we are. Welcome to Step by Step. Thank you all for coming and attending. Where it looks like we're crossing over 50 attendees, so that's great turnout. Thank you all for taking the time to be with us and join this very powerful training. You're in for a treat. We got a dynamic group of presenters with some real good information. We're not talking about just like, you know how they just sometimes you go to workshops and they just give you random information that you could probably Google, or it's over your head, you can't understand it. No. The organizations and presenters, they work with businesses every day. This is what they do. So their goal is for you to learn the information so that you can use the information. And then we'll connect you to other resources that have, I don't want to get too ahead of us, but we got grants, funding, investment, companies looking to invest, equity funding, all type, like you can leave this call and your business can go to the next level by the end of the call. Okay, but you gotta, in order for that to happen, you have to really take this serious, right? You gotta really get in. So I'm gonna do a little icebreaker to get us started, and then I will turn it over to Jonathan. So we're gonna do this icebreaker, y'all. And like I said, put your responses as questions in the question section because we can't do the chat. Okay, so I'm gonna read you this story, and then I'm gonna ask you a question. It's a short story, and I'm gonna ask you a question, and then I want you in the question sections to put your answer or put I don't know or I'm stumped or something. Give me some type of feedback. All right. So here we go. If you were on Pathstone's She Means Business call, don't ruin it for everybody because you know the answer already. All right. But all right, here we go. One night, a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker go into a castle. The next day, 4 people come out. Who are the 4 people? So real quick, if you know the answer, if you're like, hey, I know who the 4 people are, put it in the chat. If you don't know, put, I don't know, or I'm thinking, or I got to figure it out, or give me a second. All right, so while y'all, I'm gonna send this text because I got some people who are having trouble logging in with the link. All right, so I'm just gonna provide that link for them. Okay, I'm seeing, oh, thank you, Jill. I don't know, I appreciate Jill, Holly. All right, I'm gonna read it again. Don't worry, this has a point. This is important to our workshop today. This time, y'all, I want you to write it down. So I want everybody to get a pen, get some paper real quick, or pull your phone out, get to your notes or your text messages, and I want you to write what I'm saying. All right, here we go. One night, a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker. So just write that. Quick. If you type it, right? One night, a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker go into the castle. All right. The next day, 4 people come out. All right. I see the chat. Some people saying the king of the castle. That's a good guess. That was my guess, Robert. 3 went in, 4 came out. Not sure. Okay. So here it is. I'm going to write it in the chat. Okay. I'm going to help you out. One night, a butcher. Let's see. I'm trying to type as I'm talking here. Butcher, baker, a candlestick maker go into a castle. So when I said it, you thought one night meant one evening. But when you wrote it, you could see that one night is a guy on a horse. So one night, a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker go into a castle. Okay, here's the point, y'all. And I'm gonna shut up so we can get into the workshop. All right. The point is sometimes you can hear something, but you don't fully get the information unless you write it down. Okay. And so today you need to be taking some notes. You need to be writing down this information because they got real information and you're not going to remember it all. If you trust in your memory, it is going to fail you. So you need to have a pen and some paper, a pencil, notepad, tablet, cell phone notes, whatever works for you. You need to have something so you can write down this information so you can apply it to your business and we can help get you to the next level. So with that, I'm Duncan. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Duncan. I'm like the community partner with Capital Connect here, and I'm so happy to be a part of this team. And with that, I'm done. I'm gonna turn it over to Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Duncan. Thank you everybody for being here with us this afternoon. Looks like we have 71 people in the room, so that's awesome. Thank you all for being here. And I'm gonna jump off of what Duncan just said there and take it another level, which is from that example, you can see how language is tricky, right? And when you speak to a person, it might sound like plain English, but then when you get into the real details of it, it's a little bit different, right? As small business owners, I'm pretty sure you've been in that position of that riddle in a couple different situations, and you will be when you're looking for money again. So that's a great example to start with, because what we want to do is like put things in plain English for you, make it so that you could actually go after some funding, right? Like we want to break it down, what we're looking for, and what it really means to you. So today we've got in the room, I'm trying to do a lot here. Today we've got in the room 4 CDFIs. I'm gonna ask everybody just to give a wave when I go past your CDFI. And a CDFI is a community development financial institution, but we'll talk a little bit about that later on, or you'll get the gist of what a CDFI is from our talk. But in the room today is Launch New York, Crystal Wallace. Can you give us a wave? Hey, Crystal. From Patstone Enterprise Center, we've got Adam Tidrow. There's Adam. From Pursuit, that's me, and Sherry Falk. Hi, Sherry. Awesome. And then from Weedy, we've got Kristen and Yanish. So what you've got in the room, all these faces really represent. Oh, I'm sorry, David. I missed David. David from Launch. Man, I'm so sorry. David and Crystal work together. Awesome people at Launch. So what you've got in the room here is 4 CDFIs. We are alternative lenders to banks. So basically, if you're a small business and you're looking for a loan, you're trying not to go onto online predatory lenders, not to bother your mom-in-law or your grandpops or anybody like that. You're looking for some alternative funding. We're the sources in the city of Buffalo, in the counties around city of Buffalo, and if you're coming further afield, look for CDFIs in your neighborhood, right? Like we are the alternative funding. So when Duncan says this is a great presentation in terms of who's here, it's true. These are 4 financial institutions, and you don't often get them all in the same room. Moving right along. So we're going to cover a lot, and my voice is going to speed up as we go, and I try to get through all this information in one shot. I'm going to ask my co-organizers here just to unmute themselves if they see a question in the chat, if I'm going too fast or they need me to slow down. If we are losing you or we're going too fast, please put it in the questions. I also want to bring your attention to the polls section that you should be able to see. We've got some questions that would be helpful if you could answer them for us. First one being, how long has your business been in operation? So if you can get into that poll and fill it out, it would help us as we go along. So as I said, we're going to cover a lot. So what you'll learn today, or what we will go over today, is, are you ready to receive funding? Some state and federal funding programs that are available, grant funding that's available, the necessary documents for accessing these forms of funding, and so that we can get a gauge of who's in the room at that point. We're also going to release another poll which says, do you need debt or equity financing? And if you're confused about that, that's what that section is for. Launch New York will join us and we will discuss debt versus equity financing. Then we're going to just have each CDFI come back on, introduce themselves, and really talk about what the CDFIs can do for you. And then we're going to share a little bit about what we've got in the pipeline, what we've got coming up.
Excellent, Jonathan. Well, the poll is in, and we have about half of the attendees have been in business for over 2 years. Awesome.
Great, thanks for joining us, existing businesses. We know how busy it is, and that's awesome. Thank you, Sherry. And that really helps. So as we go along too, I want to just point out to everybody at the bottom of the slide, there's www.capitalconnectnewyork.org. We need you to go there, fill out the information to get connected to us. If you're not quite looking for financing yet, I would say still go on there and get connected to us. It'd be good to know who you are. Good for you to get to know who we are, as we'll talk about a little later as well. Moving on. Yes.
Somebody sent me a question and said they were having trouble hearing. So real quick, I can hear you fine. Real quick, can everybody drop in the chat? Can you hear? If you can hear, put it in the chat, yes or no, if you can hear, if you heard Jonathan. He just gave some great info. Okay, I'm seeing some yeses. Real quick, yes. All right, if you are having trouble hearing, okay, so it seems like just a few people, log out come all the way out of the web, the GoToWebinar, and come all the way back in. And then when you log in with your audio, it should give you an option of computer audio or internet audio, and whatever one you chose, choose the other one. Okay, so, all right. Jonathan, back over to you.
All right. So capitalconnectny.org. And again, if you can't hear me, put it in the questions. I'll try to speak louder if that helps, clear my mic if that helps. Thank you, Duncan. Okay, so moving along. The first question we're going to ask today the first couple questions we're going to ask today are really questions that you have to answer yourself. Do you know how you will use your funds? Do you know how you will repay funds? So these aren't big questions that we need to spend any amount of time with slides on, because these are really questions that you have to ask yourself. Yes, as lenders, we need to know what bucket to put your application in. We call it a use of funds. So to go back to Duncan's example, you see that there it says use of funds, but to lenders it means, or how will you use funds? To lenders it means a little bit more. We want to know whether you're getting working capital, whether you need furniture, fixtures, equipment, whether you need to refinance debt. There's many different uses of funds, right? Or are you just going to pay for inventory, or to do an upgrade to your existing machinery, or to pivot your business? It's the first question that most lenders, alternative lenders like CDFIs, as well as banks, are going to ask you, as well as equity investors. How will you use our funds, right? We should have had a poll, how many of your parents, but for you that are parents in the room, if your kids ever came and asked you for some money, the first thing you ask them is, in fact, not only just the kids, anybody ask you for money, you're pretty much asking them, what are you going to use it for, right? It doesn't matter who it is really that's asking. So you've got to know, how will you use the funds, right? And then the second part of it is how will you repay the funds? Now, later on, we'll talk about the equity side of things, and you won't necessarily have to repay equity funds, and we'll let Crystal talk about that a lot more. But in terms of how will you repay funds, especially on the debt side of things, you've got to know that when you borrow, you're borrowing for an interest rate, and with that interest rate is extra capital that you need to recoup, right? So easy example is if you borrow $10 at 4% interest rate, you're gonna have to $10,000. Let me just do real simple math here. Okay, if you borrow $1,000 at a 4% interest rate, you're gonna have to repay close to $40. So you're not gonna be able to borrow $1,000, make your business make that $1,000 and pay it back. You'll be in the hole. You need to make your business take that $1,000 and at the very least, be able to make $1,040. With that being said, how are you going to make 1,000 into 1,040? Doesn't sound like a big jump, but you got to know how to do it, right? And the third question, which we're going to really dig into here, is your digital locker. Like I said, the first two questions you'll be able to answer pretty easily, at least the first one. The second one might take some homework, but the third one I know is going to take a lot of work, and it has been an issue for many small businesses during COVID, and it's going to continue to be an issue after the pandemic as well. So is your digital locker ready? So if you don't know what a digital locker is, we're going to go into it in the next few slides. So before we get into that digital locker, we're just going to talk a bit about why do you need a digital locker, right? Because you want to apply for funding. So what kind of funding is out there? Why do you need to take these steps to be ready for funding? So we're going to talk basically about three types of funding today: COVID-19 relief funding, debt financing, and equity financing. And to do that, I'm going to hand it over just a bit to Sherry Falk, my colleague here, and she's going to go over the different types of funding that is available right now. Hi, Sherry.
Jonathan, thanks. So we'll get into the federal programs first on the funding side of things. So these are programs that need repayment. So on the federal level, the SBA, Small Business Administration, has a lot of programs out there. So I would encourage everybody to go to sba.gov. There you will find more information on the EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This loan is at 3.75%. It's used for working capital and other expenses such as, your rent, your utilities. This program has been going on for over a year and is still available. The PPP, this one again is an SBA program, and it helps businesses keep their workforce employed. So it's, paying for payroll costs and those types of things. And there is a forgiveness component, and a lot of that is spelled out on the sba.gov website. As far as the state, at this point in the pandemic, New York Forward Loan Fund is a loan program out there for small businesses across New York. It's a 5-year term at 3%, and Pursuit actually is one of the 5 lenders that can help you with that. Actually, our own Jonathan Ling, if you want to give him a call, just call him at 259-0762. He's your man for the New York Forward Loan Fund. And then on the local level, we have Erie County IDA. They have a COVID impact loan. This is a 1% loan program. More information at ecidany.com. And then Monroe County, since the time of writing, this is closed, but we bring that point up because the sensitivity of the timing on when these programs roll out and then when they're closed, and then how important it is to have your digital locker together, which will be our next few sets of slides. But first, we have one more slide dedicated to grant funding. On the federal level, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, SVOG, this is through the SBA, and you can find more information at svograntportal.sba.gov. And this is for like live venues, museums, theaters, that type of business, whereas the Restaurant Revitalization Fund is just for that, restaurants. And more information on that program can be found at restaurants.sba.gov. And this grant program takes your gross revenues from 2019, minus a few things to come up with an amount. So this just rolled out today. I encourage everybody to check it out. And then on a local level, ECIDA, Erie County Industrial Development Agency, does have a reimbursement grant for any business out there that spent money on personal protection equipment, PPE. And then the City of Buffalo, along with WEDI, has a micro enterprise grant program that Kristen will talk about in a minute. And all this information is available on all the different websites I named, as well as our own pursuitlending.com. So I'll hand it over to Kristen, and she's going to walk through the next few slides related to the grant.
Kristen, you're on mute.
I just figured that out. Sorry. I'm actually handing it over to Janusz, who is like our go-to person at WEDI. There you go.
Thank you, Kristen. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm just going to give you a quick summary of the City of Buffalo Micro Enterprise Grant Program that WEDI is operating. So this is a reimbursable grant program. It is reimbursing business expenses incurred on or after March 1st of 2020. Businesses that are eligible include businesses that have 5 or less employees. There are about 9 to 10 other eligibility requirements, and you can see all of them on buffalomicrogrants.com. And then you can also access a list of documents that are required. The documents that are required are really just to verify the income of the business owners and the amount that the employees are being paid. So that's really what the checklist of items are focused on. And you can find the checklist of items at that shortened URL at the bottom over there.
Awesome. Thank you, Janusz. So one thing that folks should take away, that we just went over a lot of sources. Please go to capitalconnectny.org to get routed or connected to one of the CDFIs, and we can point you in the right direction if you need help doing that. but one of the key takeaways that we really want you to get here is that with all these different types of funding, these documents or this digital locker that we're going to talk about comes into play. If they don't require all of the things in this digital locker, they require all of these things plus some, right? So we're giving you an idea of what's out there, but we're also saying, hey, this is what you need to put together digitally. I'm going to keep saying digitally, in order to go after that funding, right? So what is a digital locker? Let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about that. So so before COVID, before the pandemic and lockdown, when I used to do small business loans, and I would meet with people, I'd love to see them walk into my office with a good sized folder of documents. And so like when they did walk in with those documents, I'd know this person has a good chance of getting this loan because they've already walked into the first meeting with what I need to start assessing if they're lendable or not, what I need to start assessing whether they can get a loan. And so I'm gonna date myself a little bit here, age myself a little bit here, and say, when I was growing up, there was a artist named Madonna, and she used to sing a song. She used to go, she used to say, I'm a material girl and I live in a material world. I'm not going to sing it. I'm just going to say it. But I'm a material girl and I live in a material world. But every time I saw those folders, I would say it to myself, and I'd love to see those folders. Nowadays, I'm singing a little different song. I'm a digital girl. I live in a digital world, right? And we all have to be. And as we go along this process, it's going to be more and more like that. We're all going to have to be digital. And if you haven't seen it in how you operate your business, we as lenders have definitely seen it, right? We want you to be able to get us the documents you need as quickly as possible. So as I was talking and embarrassing myself with quoting Madonna lines or paraphrasing Madonna lines here, you might have a chance to just check out the slide.
We got a couple questions in here related
as
to
long
what.
as it's not sing the song.
No. So we had one question. They asked about Pursuit, saying they want to know, do you have to earn over 120,000 in previous revenue to get a loan from Pursuit? And then the second question was, what if they're just getting started? How does the digital locker kind of relate to them?
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
That's it. Okay.
Yep.
So to the first question, our marketing materials do say that we look for a target market with 120K in gross revenues. But the reality is, in the markets that we serve, that's not always possible. And so we do a good bit of exception-based lending. So I would say to you, if you're in business for 2 years, you're not quite hitting that $120,000 mark, we'd be happy to chat with you. But I want to save those kind of details about Pursuit specifically for later when we chat a bit more about Pursuit.
And just not to scare everybody, but Pursuit is one of the 4 groups on this call. So different groups serve different businesses and stuff. So I just wanted to say that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, I promise.
Correct. Yeah, so no, we don't want to scare you at all. And if you're not at 120K, one of the 4 CDFIs here can help you, right? And by gosh, we all want to see you get to that 120K. So don't be scared of us. Come chat with us, right? Like, how do I get my business to 120K is the question there. And then how does this digital locker relate to you as a startup? I would say you have a great tactical advantage because you can start your digital locker now. And it relates to you because if you're going to apply for funding, people are going to want to see documentation. So it might not be exactly what's on this list, but it's going to be a lot of the stuff that's on this list, right? So keeping startups in mind, you're looking at this list, business entity or proof of DBA, we'll talk about it in a minute, but startup or not, you're gonna need it. Business tax returns, as a startup, you might not have that, right? But as an existing business, we're gonna wanna see business tax returns. Personal tax returns, existing business or not, lenders are gonna wanna see it. Equity investors more than likely wanna make sure you are paying your taxes, or at least that you did not pay your taxes. Balance sheet as a profit and loss is not going to be an existing balance sheet, a snapshot like we will discuss in a little while. But for a startup business, you can actually project your balance sheet, right? With the money that you plan to borrow, this is how you're gonna use it. Or even with your sweat equity, what kind of assets have you created for the business, or what kind of assets have you bootstrapped together for the business, and how does it sit to present a snapshot of your business, right? So it's not impossible for a startup to create these things even in a projected state. Again, profit and loss for existing businesses is something that you should be able to create for a startup. Might be a little bit difficult, but you're going to do what's called pro formas or projections. And those projections run very similarly to a profit and loss. And if you're a startup and you're struggling with these terms, get in touch with us. Again, capitalconnectny.org. We'd love to point you in the right direction, give you the resources you need to figure those out. Photo ID, again, startup or no, you're gonna need it. Voided checks, startup or no, you're gonna need it. So let's get into the details a little bit. And keeping time in mind, I'm gonna start moving a lot faster. So some other items in your digital locker, because all lenders are not the same. That first slide would be some of the preliminary things that most lenders ask for. This next slide, proof of certifications, bank statements, business insurance, vendor list, payroll, property taxes, business plan and projections, personal financial statements. These are documents that some lenders ask for. For instance, the second bullet there, bank statements, is a requirement of Wheaties grant. So City of Buffalo and Wheatie, they would ask you to see bank statements as part of that grant process, right? So even though it's not on the first slide, you might want to have bank statements in your digital locker if you're going for that type of funding. To go through the details of what's in your digital locker, the first criteria that most businesses ask, most lenders or funders will ask for, is a proof of entity. What does that mean? Proof of entity is that you have legally established your business. You've filed the paperwork with the right organizations, usually the Department of State. But if you're a DBA, that's going to be the city that you do business in. Could be the county that you do business as well. But you have filed and certified yourself or registered your business as a separate entity, as a business onto itself. For startups, this is going to be easy because you might have just filed your certificate of liability or your certificate of organization. You might have just gotten that documentation. You just got to scan it in, save it to your cloud, save it to your thumb drive, email it to yourself, but keep it at hand, because almost every single source that we mention, every single source of funding that we mention, asks for your proof of entity. So if you've been in business for a while, this might be harder to come by, right? So for 46% of you that have been in business for a while, finding that piece of paper from 2-3 years ago might not be so easy now, right? Especially if it's not digital. Can't search that closet with Control F now. Nope, not gonna happen. So, so please scan it, save it, put it in your digital locker. It sounds silly, sounds easy, but if you come to me for a New York Forward loan, the first thing I'm gonna ask is, hey, can I see your proof of entity? The next thing is
Hi, Jonathan.
Hi.
This is Alex from
Hey,
Pursuit.
Alex.
I've been in the chat, so some of you have probably seen me coming in and out. We have a question from Sandra, and she asked, how does this funding help MWBEs that are not located in Buffalo?
So Pursuit as an entity run lends throughout New York State. So we can definitely help you outside of New York State. So definitely get in contact. New York Forward Loan Fund is statewide. Some of the other things that we talked about, like PPP, EIDL, those are also federal programs. So it's not only New York State, but the entire federal United States, right? So so not just talking about Buffalo specifically, and even if you're not in the city of Buffalo, lenders don't really change. They're not gonna like that I say that. Lenders aren't that different according to what city or county or state they're in, right? Like we are kind of market, kind of business in ourselves, and the way that bakers look at flour and sugar, we look at these documents, right? This is what we need to make the cookies, which are loans to you. So so if you're not in Buffalo, you know, like this digital locker still applies to you. You kind of need to know what you need to have to be ready for an application in your neck of the woods.
And if I might add, Sandra, if you fill out the intake form on capitalconnectny.org, all the CDFIs on this presentation that serve your area will get in touch with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. Hope that answers your question. Oh, another one.
Yeah, Jonathan, you know, this might be a good moment for us to just pause and have everybody on the call jump over to capitalconnectny.org. So this is how it's going to work, y'all. I want you're going to go to capitalconnectny.org and put in your information. And what's going to happen, it's like quick. It's like, 2 minutes. You just put in like 5 questions, you put in your info, and then one of the 4 CDFIs that specifically can help you and your business will reach out to you and connect with you. So why don't you go ahead and fill that out, and then go ahead and come back to the questions and say, I filled it out. And I'm gonna pick a winner, and we're gonna give away a prize, or I give away some cash app, give away some money real quick. So do that. So I'm gonna let Jonathan keep talking, but listen to him while you're talking, but jump over to capitalconnectny.org, fill out the portal, it's right in the middle of the screen. It's literally like 4 or 5 questions, and then come right back and put in the chat, I'm done, or in the questions rather, I'm done. All right, Jonathan, back to you.
We're gonna have to talk to management here. I want some cash prizes for the organizers. Getting back to it. So and thank you for the questions. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. So moving on right along, personal tax returns, whether you exist in business or you're a startup, your personal tax returns are going to be important. Why? Until you reach to, let's say, the hundreds of millions of dollars in assets or cash, and your business is going to guarantee a loan on its own, most lenders are going to ask for a personal guarantee. Your personal guarantee is the statement that if your business does not pay for this loan, I will pay the loan. Not to get too deep into the woods, to the weeds here, but your tax return lets us know if you've paid, let's say, the biggest lender, right? Have you paid the federal government your taxes? If you didn't, we're going to see it on your tax return, and we're going to ask a question. Most lenders will ask a question, right? Not to mention that many CDFIs get their funding from federal sources of federal sources anyway. So we cannot lend to you if you haven't been paying your taxes, right? But on top of that really, really sticky question of have you paid your taxes is also the question of global cash flow. And so this is important to that second question that we came across, which is how will you repay a loan that you've borrowed, right? Now, if you've taken an EIDL loan or a PPP loan and it's going to convert into a grant, and you're not going to have to, sorry, I misspoke. If you took a EIDL grant or a PPP loan that is going to convert into a grant, you know, knock on wood, it happens and it converts, and you don't have to service that debt. You don't have to make those payments plus interest. If if they don't, and you do have to make those payments, we want to know that personally you have some cash flow, you have some extra money that you could pay back the debt if your business defaults. And we're going to get an idea of that from your personal tax returns. Sometimes it matters and sometimes it doesn't. So for some of the lenders on here, they're going to look at it and go, your tax return is what it is, and we're just looking for you to have paid their taxes, right? And some of them are going to look at it and say, hey, there's not enough income here to subsidize a loan if need be, and it's going to be important. So personal tax returns is a definite, whether you're a startup or you're an existing business. Next is business tax returns, and these vary a bit according to what kind of entity you have. And if any of this is confusing, again, put it in the chat, connect with us one-on-one so we can help you figure this stuff out. But if you, and we're not tax people, but we could point you in the right direction. But different entities, specifically, if you're a LLC, a DBA, or a sole proprietor, will use different tax forms and present their taxes to us differently. So if you're an LLC, a DBA, or sole proprietor, you're going to file your business taxes with your personal tax return. So you go back one slide. I'm just going to do it because I need that number. It'll be part of your 1040. Your Schedule C will be one form as part of your 1040. To make it simple, simply, if you're a pass-through entity like an LLC, a DBA, or sole proprietor, your business taxes is part of your personal tax return, your individual tax return. That is contrasted with 1120s or 1120Ss for S corps and C corps. And so if you're a C corp, meaning that you have not elected to treat your corporation as an S corp or as a pass-through entity, you are going to have to file taxes separately. And so if you're an existing business, you know this hurts a little bit because you're paying for two tax returns. But if you're making enough money through the corporation, it doesn't matter, and it just covers the cost, right? But the take-home point is we're going to need these tax returns, and we need them digitally, and we need them complete. So funny story, I had a client email me a tax return, and they scanned in one page at a time. They had 144 pages. And yeah, I'm just smiling. They had 144-page PDF. They sent it in single files. Yeah, you can see by the expression of the lenders that that's not a good thing. It hurts. It hurts a lot. And so, you know, that's going to be hard to process, right? And we can't tell. Now I have to kind of investigate and say, is this a complete tax return? Are we missing page 5, page 10, whatever? Got to make sure, right? I don't like counting pages. You want your loan to go through fast. Have the your tax returns scanned in one complete PDF. Not just the parts that you think are important to us, not just the first page, not just the Schedule C, but the entire thing. If you have real estate, if you have other businesses, even if you're not lending to those other businesses, we want to see the complete tax returns. And don't worry, we're not going to judge you because you have more than one business, right? Like, that looks good if you have more than one business. Don't hide it. Just let us know. Makes you stronger. Moving on from tax returns is a balance sheet. These next two slides, we can do entire seminars on them. No way I can go through all the details of a balance sheet and profit and loss in this given time, but we're going to do it pretty quickly. So most lenders are going to ask for balance sheets. If you're a startup, they're probably not going to make it a requirement to have a balance sheet. But they might ask for you to create one just so they could see where you're at. Because what a balance sheet does is provides you a snapshot of your business at a point in time. So from that side, you'll see it starts with assets. On the left, on the right, you see liabilities, right? So we're looking at your assets, we're looking at your liabilities, we're trying to get to your net worth. Assets minus liabilities equals net worth. How much is your company worth on paper, right? Over time, you do your balance sheets, you should be able to see the numbers grow and progress. And if you compare them year over year, you can actually see your business grow. It's awesome. In a past life, I was a farmer. I raised pigs. If you put 20 piglets in a pen and you leave them there, it's really hard to tell if they're growing. One day they're like that big, and then the next day they're like 250 pounds. And you're like, how did this happen? Because I don't weigh them every day, right? Your business is the same thing. You're putting money into it, you're putting sweat equity into it, you're building your revenues, you're building your customer base, you're building your intangibles, you're putting stuff into your business, and it is growing. You've got to be able to show people, and this is how, right? A balance sheet is how you do it. Moving on from the balance sheet is a profit and loss. And so if a balance sheet is a snapshot, a picture of your business at one point in time, then profit and loss is like a grade. What's a good grade? That's for you to decide what a good grade is. But as you see on a profit and loss statement, it starts with your income. That's all your sales revenues, all your service revenues, any kind of revenue you can pull in goes into your income. Your expenses, pretty simple, all the money going out. Income minus expenses equals your profit and loss. I'll take it back. No, I won't take it back. What's a good grade is according to you, right? If you're a startup, you might not be turning a profit in the first year. You might not want to run this profit and loss statement. If you're a new company and you're starting off and you're like, man, I know we're not making money. Why do I need a profit and loss statement? Well, again, it helps show growth, right? And it helps you know exactly how deep in the hole you are, which I think personally is important, right? If I can see the light at the end of a tunnel, then I know I can get there. If it's just totally darkness, I'm just kind of feeling around for it, right? Again, I ran a farm. We didn't run the numbers till the third year. We spent tons of money without knowing how much money we spent. We didn't know how to make any money doing it. Profit and loss, balance sheets, these things help us rein it in, figure out how to make that spending actually make us money. The last one here is a voided check, pretty simple. You're gonna say, why do they need a voided check? We're not gonna steal money from your account. I promise, Duncan, I won't take it to buy cryptos. It's really just a matter of the best way to get you money. So we need your routing number and your account number, and that's how most lenders now are getting you money as quickly as possible. Instead of writing you a check and mailing it to you, it's going to come directly to you. And for the SBA programs like PPP and EIDL, they pretty much can't complete the process unless they have a check, so they can send it straight to you. So you want to have a check voided, put it in an account. Alternatively, your startup, maybe you haven't had a run of checks yet. You don't have any check, or you don't have a checkbook because not that type of business. Get the information from your bank, right? What's your routing number? What's your account number? Okay. So I know I went through a lot. I haven't heard from Alex or Duncan, so I'm thinking we're okay on questions. I really want to stress like these things that we went over, having them digitally is the difference between being the quick or the dead, right? Shutter venue, Crystal doesn't like that one, but SVOG, either you're getting the funding or you're not getting the funding, right? SVOG is from what I could understand, $16 billion nationwide. It's going to be first come, first serve. If you don't get your application in quickly, you're probably not going to get that grant because you're going to be behind millions of people, right? EIDL had 2 rounds. Lots of people applied. If your application wasn't complete, they went with somebody whose application is complete, right? They're still processing EIDL applications, even though the application process has been completed. So at that point, what do? You need to be able to get in the next time this opens up, and you need to be able to get in quickly. I know if I were you, I wouldn't want to hear about new funding like if you're on this call today, SVOG just opened up today, I believe, officially, or reopened officially. You don't want to be scanning in your 174-page tax return tonight to apply for it tomorrow. You want it done, right? Get it done, make sure you have them. On balance sheets and profit and loss statements, you want to have systems in place to update them quarterly, biannually. Have a system in place so that you can update them, get them to your digital locker. With all that being said, we talked about a lot of different types of funding. We have not touched too much on equity funding. So if you're in the room and you're thinking about equity funding, I want to bring in Crystal Wallace from Launch right now, and she's gonna get into the nitty gritty and the nuances between Main Street and high growth startups.
Thank you, Jonathan. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So Jonathan shared a lot of information about debt financing, and there is another form of financing that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I want to kind of set the stage. So I want you to think about the type of business that you are. I think the poll said about 50% of the businesses on the webinar are already established. And so typically they might fall in one of two categories. And I'm not going to say these are the only categories. There are others, but it's something to think about. So there's this comparison of Main Street businesses versus high growth startups. And so a Main Street business is a small business. Small business is a very broad term, but essentially that business has a focus of impacting their local community. They might have 10 or fewer employees. They might even have 300 employees. However, the idea is that they're going to stick and stay where they are. The ownership of that particular business is probably no more than 2 to 3 owners, but typically about one person owns the entire business. And all of the means that we just talked about, typically Main Street businesses are financed with debt. Now, on the other side, we have what's known as high growth startups or high growth businesses. And so Main Street businesses think about, the size of their business in terms of its reach and where it is in the community, while high growth businesses think about expanding their reach well beyond where they are. So the idea is to be global, to have multiple locations, to expand geographic regions, and to even sometimes be in multiple industries. And the idea is growth, growth, growth. So high growth businesses are always looking to increase what they're doing. Think of a pie. And if you think of a pie, the more slices you put in that pie, you still have your whole pie, but the more times you slice that up, that means you have multiple slices to give out. And so when you think of the growth aspect of the high growth business, those pie slices, I'll talk about that in a minute, are actually additional owners. And so growth comes in multiple forms here. It's in the size of the business, the valuation, or how much that business is worth, and then also how many people actually own that business. And compared to Main Street businesses are typically the ownership percentage is really small, like the different number of owners. And when you think of high growth businesses, the idea is to exit or to sell the business or to have what's known as an IPO or initial public offering, where you are actually selling your business, selling portions of your business to individuals who want to pay for it for stock. And so when you think of that, that is actually a larger version of the investment process. And that investment is done via equity or investment. Awesome. And we can head on to the next slide. And so Jonathan and I are going to kind of discuss what this really means. And if the slide already came up, my screen might be a little slower. Okay, so when you're thinking about the type of funding that's right for you, we want to kind of talk about, how one category might compare from debt to financing. So Jonathan, I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks, Crystal. So when we start from we're going to start from the debt side of things. and we start thinking about debt, the first thing and the simplest thing, and you've probably heard it from me in this, is you're borrowing money and you're going to pay it back plus interest, right? So that was my $1,000 example. You know, roughly you borrow $1,000, you're going to pay back 1,040 at a 4% interest rate. Real simple math. But you're not going to be able to borrow $1,000 and pay back $1,000, right? So you're going to borrow money and pay it back with interest from the debt side of things.
Okay. And from the equity side of things, again, think of that pie. So you're selling a portion of your business for, or equity in your business for money or some other asset. And so if you slice a pie, the more slices, the more represent more of the pieces of equity that are being sold, and it's an investment. And so you might, well, I don't want to skip to the next section, so I'll give it back to Jonathan.
So the next thing when we're talking about debt versus equity, we're gonna think about kind of from your point of view, what's the catch? What's the deal here, right? Like, why would any of us lend to you to help your small business? And the answer for us, right, going back to one, is we get interest, but you're obligated to pay it back, right? You are going to pay us back. We're not just giving you the cash so you could buy anything. You're putting that money into your business and you're going to be obligated to pay us back. If you don't pay us back, as I mentioned before, there are things like personal guarantees, there are defaults. You can be personally responsible for the debt that you take on for your business. So you are obligated to pay it back.
And when it comes to equity financing, we'll say typically you're not obligated to pay it back, but there's an expectation there. The expectation, we talk about growth, growth, growth. That expectation is that the investor, the person who's taking a portion of your business, will receive a return. So if you think about that interest example that Jonathan talked about when it came to the I guess the money they're charging you to provide you with the loan. Think about that more times over. So when a person is investing in your business and you're giving them a piece of your equity, that particular portion of the business should grow in value. So they're making more money on what they've invested into your business.
Awesome. So Crystal keeps talking about the pie. It's making me hungry, and I'm trying to contemplate here how you make this comparison. So I'm going to assume some people have had New York City style slices, and so if you've had the big triangular slice, right, you might be thinking, hey, that's equity for me, right? But actually, it's more like a buffalo style pizza from Just Pizza, where they cut it up into squares, right? And if you could cut it up into more squares, you can get more owners, right? That New York style slice got 360 degrees of slice, and that's it. But you go with squares, you can be a high growth company. You can have lots of capital coming in. Anyway, but staying with the analogy of slices, right? So if you're a small business owner and you're not looking to grow to be a high scale, high growth potential business, you're looking to keep it Main Street, you're gonna take control of that whole pie, right? All the slices are yours. Doesn't matter how you dice it. Your slices, your control. You get to decide when you eat it, when you don't eat it. Are you gonna sell it? Are you not gonna sell it? You maintain control. Not so on the other side, right? Right, Crystal?
Right, it's a little different there. So each time, we're not going to go in the weeds on this. So each time you slice up that pie, the more owners means you have less control. However, this whole idea of control also changes a little bit because Jonathan talked a little bit more about the different types of corporation or incorporation a business can have. Typically, if you're going high growth, you're going to have a corporation. And so that also means that you have a separate governing body called a board of directors, and they make some decisions as well. And then you'll also have, the owner operators of your business. So they're going to be making some decisions. So there's going to be quite a few folks who have some say in what happens with the business. And it won't be just particularly a single person.
Awesome. So moving on from control, we're going to talk a little bit about lendability versus investability. So from the lending side of things, what makes you lendable as a small business? Why would one of the CDFIs or a bank want to make you a loan? And so the easiest, shortest way to put it back, I mean, we all, I should say, before I say the easiest and shortest way to present it, I will say to you, we are all community oriented. So all of us are not for profits. We're all here to help the community. So that our mission would be our first reason really to help you, right? But what makes you lendable, what makes you a good candidate for any one of our loan programs or a bank or any other institution that lends is the ability to pay back and that ability to show a track record, right? So as I've mentioned, we want to look at personal tax returns. Most lenders are going to ask for your personal credit score, look at your personal credit report. If you're an existing business, we're going to look at your DUNS information. If you don't know what DUNS is, please get in contact with us. We'll walk you through it. Or we'll look at what's called a business credit score. All of these things are going to give us your track record to paying back the loan, or paying back debt, or paying back loans. Your ability to repay, we're going to get from some of the documents we talked about, your tax returns, your profit and loss statement, your balance sheets. They're going to show us how you could possibly repay the loan. And so that's what makes you lendable from our perspective.
Hey, Jonathan, can I jump in and say something?
Yeah.
Because that's why I roll here. First, attendees, make sure y'all putting questions in there. They're giving a lot of powerful information. Second, I only see like 6 people who went to capitalconnectnewyork.org and filled out the thing and came back and said done. So do that, okay? Like that's really important that we walk away so we can, because like a lot of stuff Jonathan is talking about and Krista talk about, if some of y'all, I know the feeling where you're like, oh, it's going over my head, it's too much. I'm like intimidated with all these terms and information. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know if I can do it, right? If you fill out the form at capitalconnectnewyork.org, well, if just say Launch New York is the best CDFI to help you, they're gonna call you, set up the one-to-one, and they're gonna walk you through this process, right? Or if it's Pathstone, they're gonna meet with you and say, okay, get these 3 things. Then you get them. They say, okay, now get these 3 things, right? And they're gonna get you ready. So when the money comes out, because these CDFIs, now that once you guys are in the portal, they're sending out notices on grants, on funding all the time. So you'll be the first to know, because this is their world. So Crystal will be like, hey, everybody, there's funding out in Erie County. Well, you're gonna know that first. And if you've already got your digital locker together, the application is just click, 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 submit. Mm-hmm. And so then you get a good chance of getting the money. So I just want to make sure that you guys take advantage. Don't just be here listening. Get everything out of this. So ask questions, but make sure y'all fill out that capitalconnect.newyork.org.
That's awesome, Duncan. And preparedness, because just really spoke about preparedness. When we think about investability and the ability to grow the investors' funds, we kind of already talked about that. They're looking to see how they can recoup some form of investment. That being said, again, we are community-based. And so a lot of what we do, and I'll let David definitely speak on that, is help get you prepared for that. We're not going to let you go speak to investors and you don't have your pitch deck and you don't understand or know how you're going to utilize those funds. So that piece is really big for all of the CDFIs, but for equity investment and equity financing, you just want to be able to demonstrate, if an investor gives you money, how are you going to use it and how is it going to cause your business to scale forward and scale up.
Thank you so much, Crystal. That's pretty fun. And the next time we do this, we should call Domino's and Just Pizza and say, hey, we want a sponsorship. We could get some sponsors for this. It'd be awesome. So moving on from debt versus equity, we're gonna take some time now to introduce each of the CDFIs and give each one a chance to introduce themselves and what they do. I just want to reiterate what Duncan just said there. I've given you a lot of information. We've gone over a lot in the space of an hour. a lot of this could be broken down into more sections and done much more intensely. But that's not the purpose of this presentation right now. It really is to get you connected to us as CDFIs, as lenders. Add us to your network. So go to Capital Connect NY, fill out the form, get connected to us, and every single person that is about to talk to you from the 4 CDFIs can walk you through what the information I've been going over. So please go to capitalconnectny.org. And with no further ado, I'm going to do some introductions. So first up, to discuss how CDFIs can help you secure funding is Launch New York, and we're going to bring David on from Launch.
Awesome, Jonathan. Thank you so much. And you guys might have seen there, we just threw up a poll just to find out, versus the debt financing versus equity financing, as Crystal and Jonathan just went into some detail on that, to find out from you guys what is more appropriate for what the type of business that you're looking for. So thanks for filling that out, guys. It looks like nearly half of you are looking at debt financing side of things, which is fantastic. That's what we'd expect. There is fully close to a quarter of you who are interested in equity financing. So that's great, and I'll speak a little bit to that. So again, my name is David Thurlow. I'm program manager for Launch New York. And Launch New York does, as we just talked about, focus on the investment, the equity investment side. So we work with what we call high growth startups that we just talked about, the type of businesses that are looking to go big and really make a big impact on the economy of our region is what we're focused on. So the idea of being able to hire lots of employees and really bring that investment back from other areas to the Buffalo area, to western half of upstate New York. So Launch New York, we've been around for close to 10 years now. We've worked with nearly 1,200 companies. And the main two things that we do are mentorship and investments. So mentorship side of things, we offer free pro bono mentorship. We pair you with an expert who's worked in startups and business and the type of business that you're doing to help you grow. And our goal is to help get you ready for investment, for equity investment, so that you can bring on a partner in your business and grow. And we are the first ones that'll put our hands up and say, we work with this company and we believe in you. We are going to invest our own dollars in you and help you bring in others too. So like Crystal was talking about, so that pie that you've got, we can start to slice it up, bring in partners and help it grow rapidly. To date, from just one of our funds, our seed fund, we've already invested over $3.5 million in 70 companies. We make 2 to 3 investments every month. So we are the most active seed fund in New York State. So for this type of investment, we are the place to come. And lucky for you, we are in your area. We serve the western half of upstate New York, as you see in that map there. So we have been, like I say, doing investments for 5 years. We've been doing mentorship for 10 years. And actually a high percentage of our portfolio, 43%, is women and or minority-led businesses. So that's definitely a target for us. And I'll just mention 2 of our programs, as you see on the side there, Founders Go Big and ECO. Our ECO program, so in addition to all the stuff we're doing with our normal mentorship and investments, our ECO program helps any type of business that's focusing on clean tech, like clean energy and the high tech side of that. There's a special emerging clean tech opportunity, we call it, Eco Incubator. So that's a big program that we work with to help you get extra funding for that type of business. And then the other one is our Founders Go Big program. So we just started that last year with the help from JP Morgan Chase. And this is an outstanding program. Crystal Wallace is actually leading this program, is managing it. And we've been able to bring close to 30 companies already into this program, which focuses on targeting resources to underrepresented founders and to help those startups. So women and minorities in particular, we can add even extra resources to help you. And there's a pool of funding that we can bring you access to. But again, equity investment. Everything that we do is about putting investment in what you're doing so that we can help you grow and become one of your partners. So that's a quick overview of Launch New York. Please feel free to go to launchny.org if you want to get more information, or as everybody mentioned, capitalconnectny.org will be the place to apply, and we will get back to you with info about equity investment for Launch New York.
Hey, David, about Launch New York, if I was a business and I was listening to you, I would say, man, you guys are doing millions of dollars in investments. That's probably not for me. I got a small business. I don't think, I'll probably go with a different CDFI, because Launch is, that's for the big time people, and I'm not there yet, right? So what would you say to folks who are kind of either new or having those kind of second guesses about their business they've had for a few years?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Duncan, because we don't want to make it seem like we are only for, businesses that already have millions of dollars of revenue. We work with startups at the very beginning level. And in fact, I think in some ways we can take the startups that are even earlier stage than some of my partners here, but it has to be something that's targeting high growth. So we define that as saying within 5 to 7 years, you're expecting to make $10 million of revenue every year, which is a lot, but it's going to be growth. So you might be right at the napkin stage right now, and we want to work with you to help you get there. And we're going to pair you up with mentors and help you grow there and get to that point. So when we make the investment, it might be only tens of thousands or a maximum of $100,000 at first, but we're going to pair you up with partners so that as you make that journey, then 5 years from now, 7 years from now, you're going to be into those higher figures, and we're going to be partners to help you grow there. Thank you, Duncan.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Duncan. I'm gonna just risk getting in a little bit of trouble here, and we're past time. But if you guys are hanging out with us, I'm just gonna go on a little tangent and say here, everybody look at the McDonald's story. Those are the guys that were flipping hamburgers. If you want to talk about high growth, high scale company, McDonald's did it, right? So if you're a minority business in the room and you're thinking, hey, my business isn't high growth, high scale, think about it again, right? There's certain things, and we could do an entire seminar on that make your business high growth and high scale, or rather, Launch New York, Crystal and David could do a whole entire presentation on that. But don't write yourself out, right? Like as a small business, there are things that you can do to gauge yourself and send yourself in this direction if that's what you're interested in. So sorry, personal soapbox here, but just gotta do it. Moving right along. Next up is Reedy to introduce themselves. I'm not sure if we're going with Kristen or Yana. Shall we go with Kristen?
I think I'm actually gonna kick it off, Jonathan. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go with Giannis.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey everyone. So yeah, I'm gonna quickly run through what Weedy does here in Western New York and Buffalo. So we are a micro lender of the CDFIs in the room. Micro lending meaning we lend between $500 to $20,000 to small businesses. Are the types of businesses we work with, they could be startups. Some of them may still be in conception, maybe still planning things out. Some people may want to just test an idea and they're not ready to take on a huge investment right now. So that's really when our microloans are really good fits for businesses. With all of our loans, we provide mentorship with mentorships and advisors with our loans. Before I get into like more details on the loans, I'll actually let Kristen maybe talk about our the mentors and the types of mentors we have right now.
Oh, sure, I'd love to. I'm very proud of our mentor program. Our mentors come to us with many skills. Their expertise is very diverse, and they work in the industry in which they mentor. So we have people that help from marketing to finance to taxes, bookkeeping, accounting, merchandising, e-commerce. Let's think risk management, restaurant needs, inventory management. We run pretty much the whole gamut of things. We will help you when we put you together with a mentor. We make sure that your needs are being met. And then when you meet with your mentor, it's really about the schedule becomes between you and your mentor, so that it works on your convenience rather than you have to meet every certain day or you have to be there at a certain time. It works to your schedule and to your needs. We can help you all the way through from filling out an application to Weedy, to your business plans. We'll help you before the loan, we'll help you during the loan, we'll help you after the loan. We also run the Westside Bazaar, which is a small business incubator. Anyone in Buffalo probably is very familiar with the Westside Bazaar, which has great food. And we'll soon be back to having the retail, we hope. Let's all cross our fingers for summer. But we do offer a lot of incubator opportunities in that spot. So I hand it back to Janusz.
Thanks, Tristan. Yeah, so with our loans, again, they're between $500 and $20,000. They're all term loans, and since we're serving mostly startups with these loans, a lot of the checklist items that we're looking for is really, again, to look at the income of the people that are applying for our loans, make sure that they're not over leveraged with debt or anything, and then also taking a look at their credit history. We don't look at a credit score, we really focus on the credit history of the person applying for a loan. And that's really Weedy. As Kristen mentioned, we also have our business incubator program as well, the Westside Bazaar, a separate program from our lending. But that's really what we're doing over at Weedy.
Awesome, Janusz. Thank you very much. And I think we have a question in the chat here. I'm gonna see if either Weedy or Adam wants to handle this as he's going next. But the question is, how does the uncertainty of the pandemic economic outcome affect lending and grants for unproven new businesses?
Everyone has to start somewhere. We're always here to help. That's why Weedy has mentors. So we can help you figure it all out.
Yeah, we're still open to working with startups. We are looking at different things when we're lending, or not looking at different things, we are considering new things. We just really want to make sure that before we lend money to someone, they're prepared to take on debt, and they're aware of this venture that they're about to embark on.
So it doesn't sound like it'll stop you at Weedy, but you're gonna try to work with them to figure it out.
Right.
Adam, you can start by chiming in if you want, but next up we're going to bring on Adam. Thank you, Janusz and Kristen. Next we're going to bring up Adam from Pathstone.
Adam, before you get started, I just have our last poll to interject. Okay, Weedy just spoke, and they're helping with the City of Buffalo Micro Enterprise Grant, and this last poll is asking, who attending today is interested in grant funding? So if you could just take a quick minute, and then we'll get right to Adam at Pathstone. We'll give this another 30 seconons, but so far it looks like.
Sherry, did you water down this question from our group pre-talk? For the attendees, I said that the question should be, who's interested in grant funding? Yes or hell yes, right? and so I guess this is the more professional way to do it. So that's fair, but I just had to say that while they were filling out the poll.
Yeah, so it looks like 82% would have been a hell yes if we kept the original answer there. Thank you. Back to you, Adam.
Thank you, Sherry. So I'll start off kind of addressing the question about startups. We are taking startup applications right now. We're not making decisions on those for a few more weeks. Just with everything going on, what we don't want to do, and Janusz touched on this, is we want to make sure you can repay that, and that is both for our benefit, but also for yours. We never want to put you as a business owner or just as a human being in a position where you're choosing between paying back the loan to your CDFI or putting food on the table for your kids, or even making payroll, whatever that is. So we want to make sure that, especially in these crazy times, which is an overused term, at least by me, we want to make sure that you are well equipped to manage your finances, and we're not adding any additional burden. But what we can do, and this is what Kristen touched on, is we can use our mentorship programs, our technical assistance, as we bring you on board as a client, whether it's as a borrower or as solely a technical assistance client. We can bring you on and help you build those skills. And I'll talk a little bit about two areas that we focus on at Pathstone. I think most of my CDFI friends focus on here too. Credit readiness, so making sure that you're ready for credit. You understand the personal financial side of that as well as the business side of that, but also the business preparedness. Is your business ready to take on debt? Going back to some of those original questions we asked as we opened up today's program, do you know what you're going to use this money for? Do you know how you're going to repay it? A lot of folks think if I had $100,000, I could start a business tomorrow. Well, tell me how you use every nickel of that $100,000, right? And then we can talk. If it's $5,000, if it's $500, show us how you're going to use that money to then grow your business. How are you going to use it to put systems in place? How you're going to use it to reach your market, make your product better, make your service better. Show us how you're going to do that. And what you can do is if you go, I'm not really sure, I don't know how to do that, we can work with you. And we can work with you at Pathstone in a few different ways. First, we have a ton of business education series. So we have things like right now, I know there are a few people in the audience who are part of these. One of those is She Means Business. We're in the middle of a 26 class course. It's 13 weeks. We meet twice a week, and we go through everything that, what it takes to start a business, what it takes to run a business, grow a business, talking about branding, reaching your market, how do I identify my market, everything it's all encompassing. We also have things that are a little shorter, maybe 3 weeks, like our upcoming event, which is Money Talks, and we get in there and we teach you how to read financial statements, how to understand those financial statements. So we can bring you in these group settings where you're getting to work with your neighbors, with your partners, with your new friends and other acquaintances you're going to get to know in these programs. We can also do one-on-one technical assistance. We can bring you on board as a client and work with you directly with focusing on your needs, your specific needs, whether that's I need help writing a business plan or creating financial projections. And if it's something that maybe we aren't experts in, we can help get you to the right organization, whether it's one of our partners here on the call, or if it's the Small Business Development Center, the SBA, SCORE. We make sure that we get you to the right people. And that's so important right now, especially with a ton of information and people trying to capitalize on misinformation. What we want to do is make sure that you're in the room with one of us here on the call and that we're getting you to the right people. And we can also do this through mentoring and coaching. We can pair you up with a mentor. We can do some coaching with you and networking events. So things like this through Capital Connect. And we all have our own individual workshops that we do, and opportunities for networking, getting to meet other like-minded individuals or people from a totally different walk of life, whether it's another entrepreneur or other business owners. You can kind of ask, hey, what are you doing? How did you pivot? How did you change this? How did you upgrade, how did you retrofit your storefront so you can make sure you're keeping your customers safe, all of that. And all of that can culminate in a loan from us where we start as low as $5,000 and we can go up to $250,000. Startups, we typically cap around $50,000. So we're kind of that intermediate CDFI on the call today. We kind of fit right in the middle there. But again, we can go as low as $5,000 up to $250,000. It's a term loan, which means we're going to stay between 5 and 7 years. It's not a line of credit. It's not going to revolve. It's just straight line. We give you this much. You pay us. We give you the $10,000. You pay us $10,000 for 40 over time, and then 7 to 9%. Again, we're a little higher than a bank on our interest rates, but our goal is to bring you in, work on that credit readiness, work on that business preparedness, so that we can then get you to a bigger CDFI partner or a bank, which can offer you even more services. And here you have our links. If you want to learn more about us, you can hit us up at theenterprisecenterinc.org. Also, our social links are Pathstone Enterprise and the Enterprise Center Inc. And I will say, I'm going to plug something for Duncan here. We're actually having Duncan on our newest episode of our podcast, the Profit and Loss podcast, which drops in a couple days. And Duncan and all of his energy is going to be there. So if you guys want to hear from Duncan, check out the Profit and Loss podcast from us. I know that's a shameless plug, but since I'm doing it for Duncan, I think I'm okay with that.
Me too.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam. Thank you very much. So moving right along, it's the last slide from me. So Pursuit, we've been lending for over 65 years. We're part of a larger corporation known by a couple of different names that I won't go into now. But through Pursuit, you can have access to over 15 different loan programs. We are not the fit for startups, so we're not the startup lender. If you do come to us, we would probably refer you back to our friends at Launch if you're a high growth, high equity type business, or Weedy or Pathstone accordingly. But we do not do startups ourselves. So, but we do offer small business loans starting at $10,000, and through our larger organization, we can go up to $5 million. Right now, because of COVID and special funding, we have really low rates for existing businesses at 3%, and our loans range from our loans have terms from 5 to 6 years usually. For the folks that are not in Buffalo, Erie County, we do serve folks in New York City, Albany, Syracuse, throughout New York State, even New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So again, please get in contact with us if you're not local to us here. And then one of the benefits of working with Pursuit for financing is our one-on-one consultations. And so we have a consulting core, or a core of consultants that we deploy to our borrowers, and they get professional deliverables by consultants at no cost to them. And this is a real value. And as business owners, I think we've talked a lot about vocabulary words today. We've had a lot of vocabulary words today. I want you to keep this one in your pocket as well. Value. You bring value to your customers. We try to bring value to you. The consultants. Wow, the consultants that we work with is one of the ways that we as CDFIs bring you value. So we're not just lending to you, but we're supporting you along your journey as well. And you've heard from each of the CDFIs a different way we employ consultants to do that. But Pursuit is no different, and we have an excellent team of consultants ready to help our borrowers throughout the state, as mentioned before. One thing I want to also chat about is just say there are no fees to apply to Pursuit loans, and we are digital. So I'm not going to say digital girl yet. We're digital girls. Just one more time, why not? But we were one of the first CDFIs to create an online application, and so our entire process is online. You're not going to get, not trying to scare anybody, but you're not going to get too far if you don't have a digital application, a digital locker ready. So please take that one home with you too. Get your digital locker ready so we can get you in the door for a loan. My number is 716-259-0762. Please give me a call. Love to talk with any of you. But if you're a little bit shy and you want to get connected to one of the four of us, you're not sure which one, capitalconnectny.org is the place to go. And next, I'm going to hand it off to Janusz and Kristen, just to talk about future workshop that we're going to have. And so I'm going to hand it off, Janusz, Kristen, all you.
Sure. Our next workshop, which is part of this whole series, which is really exciting, will be June 30th at 4 p.m. Weedy is the host for that one, as Pursuit is for this. And it really is step-by-step to demystify the whole and have a very successful e-commerce business. We've got several of our people who are mentors. Some of our mentors are going to help us out. Some of the people who have been our clients are going to show you how they did it. successfully. And so it's a mixture of all the wonderful people that you see today and the people that are doing e-commerce for a living, especially in this time, you know, with the COVID times. It's something that you should at least be cognizant of, or actually kind of think about. It might help you. It might put you in business where you might have thought, well, I need a brick and mortar, but maybe not yet, or whatever. There's many options. So, you know, think of all the different options and join us on June 30th. Thanks.
So I think this is where I jump back in. Listen, y'all, we about to wrap up the call, but it's two important things, with a few things that need to happen. First, let me pick a winner real quick because I didn't do that earlier, and I want to be a person of my word here. I'm seeing done. How about Holly Quicksay? Holly, text me your Cash App, and I'm gonna Cash App you some money real quick. I'm gonna send you. I just put my phone number in the chat. All right, so that's the winner. Next thing, listen, y'all. By now, I think pretty much everybody has signed up for CapitalConnectNewYork.org. But if you haven't done that, that is step one. This is very important. Listen, when I tell you they dropping information about money, y'all also, like 84% said we want grants. Hell yes, we want grant info. But when the info comes out, if you're not on the listserv, you're gonna hear about it at the barber shop or at the beauty shop 2 weeks later. You're gonna be like, oh, nobody told me, right? So all of the funding opportunities, the information, not to mention, you know, Jonathan talked about consultants. We didn't have time to go over all the services that these 4 CDFIs offer, but they also do like one-to-one coaching. So you can get business coaching. Somebody can hold your hand through building a forecast sheet or a sales report, or you need to learn how to use social media. They'll train you for free. They do free training. They have technical assistance providers. They'll help you get your credit together. But you got to be in the system to get access to all this information. So the first step is register for CapitalConnectNewYork.org. The second step, on the same website, you go right back to CapitalConnect.org. After you fill out the portal, you scroll down just a little bit, and it's got the link so you can register for the next training to demystify the successful e-commerce. COVID forced everybody to have to learn about e-commerce, right? But we've been kind of doing our own thing, figuring it out as we go, going through the dark, going to YouTube trainings, right? Listening to our cousin who showed us how to do something and trying to figure something out, right? Well, now you can get the actual training that you should have to pay for. Let me be clear. The training that you're going to get on this demystified successful e-commerce, that's something people pay hundreds of dollars to get, right? To go to workshops and trainings like this, but it's free. All you got to do is be willing to come with good energy and learn. That's it. That's the price of admission. Come on time with a willingness to learn. And so make sure you register for that event. So we're about to close in a minute. It's 62 people on here. That means when I check the folder in about 8 minutes, we should have at least 62 people register in the portal and at least 62 people registered for the next event that's going to be on June 30th, successful e-commerce, demystifying successful e-commerce. Okay, so that's the goal for us all. And then in the chat, real quick, as I'm gonna turn it back over to Jonathan to close this out, but put something in the chat that you learned today. Give us some feedback on something that stood out to you, whether it motivated you, taught you something, or just got you excited about your business. Just give us a little feedback in the question and answer part of the chat so we can know, you know, what stuck out, so we can know what to do more of and how to help you as businesses more moving forward. And please do that right now while Jonathan is closing us out. And then, of course, Capital Connect in the portal, CapitalConnectNewYork.org. Then scroll down and register for the next workshop, Demystifying Successful E-Commerce. And I'll kick it back to you, Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Duncan. Well, I really don't have much to add here. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to the other CDFIs for being great co-hosts and organizers here. Really appreciate it. COVID has definitely been, the pandemic has definitely been a challenge for all of us, but as entrepreneurs, you know how to overcome challenges. I'm sure you will. And so I leave you with just a reminder, CapitalConnectNY.org. Thank you everybody for joining us. And we hope we'll see you on June 30th.